Welcome to the Monday, August 19th meeting of the Montpelier Design Review Committee. I will let staff and members introduce themselves.
Hannah Smith.
Liz Bridget.
Meredith Crandall, staff.
Stephen Everett.
Eric Gilbertson.
Benjamin Cheney.
We are an advisory committee to the Development Review Board. We will listen to the applications and move them forward. And does anybody have anything to offer ahead of time? Otherwise, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second, all in favor of the agenda, raise your hand. We'll go forward to the first application for 535 Stonecutters Way, River Station Properties. You want to come up and have a seat? And you represent River Station or Suncommon?
Suncommon.
And give us your names.
And just make sure you talk into the microphone.
Sure.
It doesn't pick up very well otherwise.
Best. Sean Fitch, Montpelier resident and employee of Suncommon. I'm the commercial project engineer for all the commercial work that they do. I'm designing commercial systems
Last
for
name
them.
is Fitch?
Yep, Fitch.
F-I-T-C-H.
Yep. I've been designing commercial solar arrays for them for about 5 years and designed residential systems for them previous to that.
My name is Jessie Klink, and I worked at Suncommon as well as the commercial project assistant.
And spell your last name.
K-L-I-N-C-K.
And describe your installation, proposed installation for the rooftop at River Station.
Sure. It's a 64 kilowatt DC, 43.2 kilowatt AC solar photovoltaic system. It'll be connected directly to the grid. That's about it. 162 modules on the roof. There's not much else to see beyond what you see in sort of our first cover image. It's just modules on the roof, and then all of the service equipment will be down in the service enclosure that's existing on the side of the building where their other meters and entrance section are.
Did you do this one?
Yes, yep, sign that as well.
Any pushback from the neighbors on the roof?
For this one? No.
Are the panels flat on the roof, flush to the roof?
Yeah, they're flush to the roof. They sit about 5 inches above the roof surface or something like that, so they look pretty well blended into the roof. They'll look about like the skylights do that are on that roof now. Those sit up a little bit above the roof surface.
Are they different color than the roof? Or?
Yeah, so the roof is a corrugated steel that's a gray in color, and those modules will have the typical solar panel look, which is a sort of deep bluish color.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is on rounds, or it's clipped to the, does it have stainless steel on that? What is
It's not. It's a sinusoidal wave corrugated steel roof, and so yeah, there are some attachment points that will attach into that roofing, and then we put horizontal rails that sit on top of those attachments, and then the modules sit on top of the rail and are clamped onto the rail.
And that's a permanent installation?
Yeah, I guess you would say that. At any point in time, if something needed to be serviced, you can pull the modules up. Everything's, bolted in place, so you can undo things as need be. But yeah, we would consider that it would stay up there for the life expectancy of the panels.
Quick question, just for my own information. Where is the wiring, where does that enter the building? Either on the outside or inside, or through the roof, or under the roof, or?
In the case of this project, the wiring from the modules is routed and connected to one another underneath the modules. So within the array itself, where there are panels on the roof, you don't see any wiring there. The modules are very close to one another, so
Right.
you really, if you were sitting on top of a module, you could probably look in between and see a wire, but
Yep.
from any more than a few feet away, you can't see. And then the wiring will exit the array through one conduit that drops over the roof edge and would be blended in and run down the side of the building down to where the service equipment is on what would be the north side of the building. So they have an existing service fence or area that's over here where their meters and main entrance section are and main disconnect. That's where we'd put our equipment as well, and so we would run our single conduit down into that area to connect to our equipment.
Conduit will come over the gable and wrap around the fascia and down the side.
That's the plan as of right now, yep. Although, yeah, exactly, yeah, that's a representation of it. Though, you know, something I'm thinking of right now actually is that is a large overhang right there, and we could easily penetrate too, so that we're not wrapping that.
Yeah.
We
So
may,
you come and flush down the building and just through
yeah.
Cause that, yeah, that's like a, you can almost see the underside of the roofing there.
Oh, you can, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
there's a
a
little
pretty-
overhang there, yeah. And now that I think about it, it'd be pretty easy for us to come down through that. I imagine our electricians, when they see it, would probably prefer to do it that way,
Yeah,
so,
just come straight down.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
pretty goofy.
Yeah.
That'd be nicer.
yeah.
So, snow loads, back up onto the skylight, those considerations about taking that.
Yeah, we deal with that a lot. And so, as you can see, there are some cutouts below those skylights. We try to maintain some space around the skylights, and we have enough experience with roofs like this and, you know, the general snow loads that we get in the area. And that's usually enough that the snow will kind of, as you get it, it'll sit for a little while, and then it tends to kind of slough down into those cutouts that we left there. And thus far, we haven't had any issues with skylight leaks or anything like
What's the
that.
pitch on that roof?
It's about 18 degrees. Yeah, so is that a 412? I think, right around.
Probably be visible from across the river.
It will be.
It will be,
Yeah, absolutely.
I imagine it's similar to what this is, I guess that probably is visible too.
Yeah, though that's a little bit of a steeper pitch roof.
Yeah,
So it's, you know, when you're looking, I drove by today to take a look at it, and of course, Stonecutters is, this building is a little higher than Caledonia is, certainly in relation to where you are when you're driving by on River Street. And then, of course, the pitch of the roof is a little less too, so the actual, you know, view of what you'd see for modules will sort of be flattened a bit more than
Yes.
it is at Caledonia. Yeah, but you certainly can still see them.
What was the pitch on Caledonia's? Again, just out.
Ooh, good question. I'm not sure I remember. That might have been like a 612. I have to look back at my records to.
Yeah, so you can see
Totally tangent.
there
You
versus
expect to generate
there.
all the power that that building would need out
Oh,
of
there's a
those
different
things.
angle.
Oh, that's a good question.
Actually use a
I'm not,
protractor on
I'm not
this end
sure
view.
how that was sold. I designed them. I don't know what
Protractor,
their
draw a line
usage
across there,
there
put a
was.
protractor on it, it'll tell you.
It's at least covering the tenants, Stone Environmental, their usage.
So Stone's the main off-taker,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's at least covering their usage. I don't know if it's covering others.
No.
They're the main tenant, they're the ones who want to install it, so if there were excess credits, I assume they'll, you know, allow those to be absorbed by another meter or another account someplace.
So maintenance and all of that, if the panel goes out, you guys are contracted for replacement, how does that work for the tenant?
If they have an O&M contract with us, then we would, I think we are monitoring, right?
Yeah.
Will they be getting an O&M?
believe
Yeah, so, yeah, that would be us, yep. So we monitor the system for performance. That's done just about daily by somebody who follows up on all the systems that we put in. They check for performance, to see if
Both
there's any
commercial and
issues.
residential you follow up on?
Well, commercial, we certainly monitor the systems. Residential, we don't, because it's thousands of
Yeah.
systems. And the homeowners are ones who tend to, they keep track of that stuff a little more closely. They want to know what their production is doing. So, and they, you know, there's an app that all of our customers get to use that's associated with the inverter manufacturer that was on their project. And they all have great monitoring platforms. So, yeah, the residential customers are usually just checking their own monitoring. And they let us know if anything's going wrong. Commercial customers are less vigilant because they're usually business owners and they got other things on their mind. So most of the time, we see an issue if there is an issue before they do. But yeah, it would be us. We do all that sort of maintenance. If the panel needs to be replaced, that's rare. We don't see that a lot, but optimizers go out sometimes. there's not a whole lot else that goes wrong. Not a lot of moving parts, so you don't usually see many issues.
Are you going to have to install any safety equipment to accommodate
The install?
maintenance?
We won't have to. There happens to be D-rings already up on the ridge of that roof, so we did an eval of the roof surface and sent a couple guys up there to get some measurements and check stuff out, and there's already some D-rings that are mounted up on that ridge line, so that's what we would.
No rollins have to go up or anything like that?
No, no. During installation, that's what we would do, is just tie off here. So ropes, so safety ropes.
Anybody have any other questions as far as the design review aspects of the application?
Industrial, use of an industrial building,
Yes.
as far as I know.
I'll read through. There's a section of criteria because it is in the district. Evaluation criteria: preservation or reconstruction of the appropriate historic style of the proposed projects in the historic district involves an historic structure. I wouldn't call it preservation, so I would just say not applicable here. Harmony of exterior design with other properties in the district, acceptable. Compatibility of proposed exterior materials with other properties in the district, acceptable. Compatibility of proposed landscaping, none proposed in this application. Prevention of the use of incompatible designs, buildings, color schemes, or exterior materials, acceptable. Location and appearance of all utilities, acceptable. Recognition of and respect for view corridors and significant vistas, including gateway views of the city and state house, acceptable. All in favor of the application as proposed, raise your hand. And if you can sign that in the lower left, right above my name.
When are you gonna start work?
What do we say, September 3rd? We're gonna try, be about 2 weeks worth of construction. Try to keep things moving.
More cranes
Get
and
those
dumbbells
guys
on
done
building.
before the roof starts to frost over.
Yeah.
Gets slick. I'm sure it'll come sooner than we want it to.
And this will move forward to administrative? or-
Administrative approval.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, and
Thank
so
you.
what after that? It goes to administrative approval, and
Yep,
then,
so
so
it'll
how does
go
that work?
back down to the planning office, and it's in Audra's queue to just issue the permit.
Okay.
But there's no, I don't think we had any other issues with this. This was just here because of design review, 'cause it's not affecting site plan or anything like that.
Great. All right.
So give it
Thank you
give it a
very
couple
much.
days. If you haven't heard anything in a couple of days, give us a call.
Okay, will do, yeah. If anybody thinks of any other questions, you can always call and ask. We're happy to chat.
you work out of the Waterbury location?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's us.
thank you.
Thank you.
The next application is for Bailey Avenue, Vermont State Employees Credit Union. Come forward and tell us about your rain garden. And you are from the Conservation Commission?
I'm not. My name is Sarah Hoffmeyer. I'm a local landscape designer. I am on the tree board. Might know
Spell your
that.
last name for the records.
Took my husband's last name. That was a mistake. Mine was Mitchell going into it. It's Hoffmeyer, Hoffmeier. German. I only brought one copy. I should have brought more. This was the final presentation that we gave to the Vermont Credit Union.
So we have the small,
Oh,
we
you
have the,
do have
yeah,
the
everything
small
came in,
one.
so we have the small version in the packet, so everybody has
Okay,
it.
lovely. Well, if we're referencing anything, this is a little larger, so I can hold it up.
Awesome.
So this is a little backwards. I apologize, the timing was, we partnered with VYCC on this project, and they had one window to help us, and it was August 12th to 16th. So, we've already started construction. And here's a picture of the construction. Thought I'd bring it along just to show. Hardworking group of kids, crew members. Sorry, I'm not supposed to call them kids. but a great group, and the crew leaders, Justin Geibel and Adam was the on-site crew leader, were fabulous to work with. But we did have to take advantage of using them that week. So we did already start, but it's not finished just yet. The planting is done, but we're still constructing the forebay and the filter strip, which are really important components of the rain garden. So that'll happen this week. And
Big hole all by hand.
it was a big hole, yep. We did. One of the drawbacks, I'll just be very frank about it, I really love VYCC, but one of the drawbacks was they didn't quite finish in time, and so we didn't crush their morale. My husband would go in at night. I think you might have seen him, yeah, and with his machine. And dug out a little more. Poor guy, neither party was happy about that, but don't tell VYCC, I don't think they actually knew. But yeah, it was a huge hole. We removed 35 yards of material.
Wow.
And then brought in with Vermont Compost Company about 28 yards of the planting medium, because the main purpose is to filter and slow water, and then the plants actually, and just nerd out for 1 second, just in case you haven't heard of this, the plants do something called phytoremediation, some of the plants. And that's where the stormwater is coming from the parking lot, and it can pick up oil and gasoline from the cars, the breakdown of asphalt, tires. There are a few plants in this design that are able to suck up those hydrocarbons, pollutants, and break them down in the tissue of the plant. Such a cool thing. Phytoremediation, psyched about it. I won't go any further. If you want to know more, I will nerd out with you more. But anyway, the main purpose of the rain garden sow is to slow, filter, but also clean the water. Yeah. And so far so good. We haven't hit anything that was a surprise. We didn't find any buried propane tanks or anything crazy when we dug our hole. No dinosaurs.
Base cell or gravelly.
It was. The top 18 inches were basic construction fill, pretty gravelly. And then we hit our clay. And just so you know, you cannot construct a rain garden on clay alone, but we lucked out in having that 18 inches of construction fill because we have horizontal infiltration. So if it was all clay, it would have been a swimming pool. That's not a rain garden. But it's okay to have the bottom be impermeable, essentially. Yeah.
So what are your top 3 plants for breaking down?
I'll tell you, yes. So the big one is Indian grass. Super hard to find. I had to go down to Massachusetts to get it. It looks like a weed, but it is a powerhouse of a plant. It's usually, you find them mainly in prairie areas, but it's actually native to Vermont, more southern Vermont, not really Montpelier. Let's see, goldenrod, oddly enough, is a great plant. A lot of people look at it as a weed. Something to know too about weeds, you see them growing in places where other plants can't grow because they can deal with really tough situations and pollutants. So a lot of what we call weeds are really good plants that can break down, and if they're not breaking it down, they're at least trapping it. Something like sunflower, it's a bioaccumulator where it traps the pollutants, so you have to harvest it at the end of the year, or as it dies, it'll just put it right back into the soil again. There are a couple of cattails is another example of that. But no matter what, it's slowing it and trapping it so it's not going in the water. So still very useful. Little blue stem is in there. That's another one. I could go on. But then we have a lot of just great natives for pollinators. So we put in butterfly weed, which is an orange blooming, and that's the main host for monarch butterflies, the caterpillar.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a bunch of others that we put in for wildlife. There was one non-native that I put in that's from Europe. It's one of my favorites, but it's a sage, but it reblooms continuously throughout the year, so I had to put it in. It's a beautiful, brilliant purple, and it's well behaved. It does not move. It really isn't a spreader, so I had to put it in.
Throughout the year, what?
Or throughout the growing season.
Okay.
That's my year. Yeah, I'm asleep in the winter.
How much of the water off the parking lot are you actually capturing?
after adding this curving?
Yes,
You know,
and, yes.
I mean, I have no idea how the storm alley is designed over there, but.
Yeah, Amy McCrellis from Stone Environmental did our, major calculations for it. There are five actually storm drains on site that capture different areas throughout the property. This one, and I don't know the volume of water that it can take, but she calculated it so that it had to be 420 square feet. The reason why we put the curbing in was a lot of water comes out of that last drive-through closest to the river, and it was going right into the storm drain. So we had to direct it into our forebay to get it so we can clean it up and slow it down before, hopefully we never even have to use the storm drain, or that's like the overflow. But the goal is everything is dealt with in the rain garden. Unfortunately, it's in the floodplain, so that eventually, in 100 years, we'll have, maybe not 100, maybe less than that. Yeah, 5, 2, I agree. I just want the place to be established by the time we get our
usual
flood.
schedule.
But that's the only downside to the rain garden, is that when it floods, we'll have to do some major reconstruction.
So it's capturing half the water coming off of the parking lot, or a quarter, or like there's 4 storm drains, you said? So
Yeah,
So it's
I
only
think
doing
there's
the work of
5. It's only doing the work of
one storm drain.
about 1/5, right.
Yeah.
So there's an opportunity for them to put in 4 more rain gardens, or it could be something else. It could be a bioswale or a retention pond. It would have to be site-specific. Yeah.
I don't think that has ever flooded since Montpelier floods.
No?
It's just enough higher that it.
Yeah.
I hope. I want those plants to stay.
The water got to the underside of the bridge in 93 or
Yeah.
92,
Yeah.
whenever it was, 92.
Yeah, they
311,
closed that bridge.
311, 92, they closed the bridge, and the water got to the bottom of the structure, but it didn't go over the
Yeah.
bridge, and I'm not sure if it got up into the corner of that lot or not.
I think,
Yeah,
I don't
it
think it got
could've.
into the corner of that lot. It was at Bailey and, yeah,
Perry's.
the
or
corner.
Bailey and
Yeah.
State,
Perry's.
Bailey
Yeah,
and
Bailey
State
and
got it.
State got
That's
it.
quite a bit lower.
Right.
But that is lower.
Right.
Autocross
Yeah.
and that area, I think, got flooded.
Yeah.
I was living on the corner of Bailey and Baldwin, so,
How about the informational signs? What's that all about? Is that you or is that somebody else?
Yeah, VSCCU is leading the charge with the informational sign. They're hoping to put up something permanent that,
Is that coming before us?
it's still in the works. I
Yeah,
haven't
it-
seen any.
it'll need to come here before the sign goes up.
Make sure
Yeah.
they label tell us a little bit about the plants like you did.
Yes, I
Because
will.
other people want this stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this, because there isn't actually a structure really going on here. This probably wouldn't have come before design review, except that in Western Gateway, there's some sort of landscape-specific things that catch it. So that's why the rain garden as a whole is here.
So, this is not a really fair question. Well, it is a fair question.
Hit me with it.
Due to our process, like,
Yeah.
what prevented you from being able to get this to us before? Was it a surprise that, when BYCC was available, or was it scheduled differently?
No. I actually didn't know that it, for what you were saying, that it needed to come here, until a week and a half ago.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
Audra, neither Audra nor I caught at first that, because we're like, oh, it's not a structure.
Right.
It doesn't need anything.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, wait, let's look a little more carefully at the Western Gateway District specific guidelines.
Yeah.
And it's not actually, like, what you have in here for landscaping, in large part, still seems to relate to when you're building a structure, but there's some language that's a little iffy. And so we figured better safe than sorry and bring it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like something we normally get, but I wanted to clarify that.
Mm-hmm.
And we did, I feel pretty confident about it because I did consult with so many experts in the field. So Mark Companion from the Lake Champlain Basin Sea Grant. I worked with UNH Stormwater Center to the Vermont specs for stormwater management are actually not quite right, and they're being redone. And so I went with UNH, and we're went with the latest information. Amy has been fantastic. I've asked her a bunch of questions, so even if I didn't know them, I'm surrounded by people that do. So it was, yeah, a well thought through process by a lot of other people that are good at what they do. Yeah. Really just the
Any other
plant person.
comments, questions, suggestions? We'll run down through the criteria, same
Sure.
criteria. Preservation or reconstruction of the appropriate historic style if the proposed project's in the historic district or involves an historic structure. I would say that the plantings are acceptable under that criteria. Harmony of exterior design with other properties in the district, acceptable. Compatibility of proposed exterior materials with other properties in the district, acceptable. Compatibility of proposed landscaping, acceptable. Prevention of the use of incompatible designs, buildings, color schemes, or exterior materials, acceptable. Location and appearance of all utilities, no lighting or utilities involved, I assume.
No.
Okay, not applicable. Recognition of and respect for view corridors and significant vistas, including gateway views of the city and state house, acceptable. All in favor of the application as proposed, raise your hand.
Certainly wouldn't obscure the view since it's all blue. But it would be easy to reverse.
Yes.
One dump truck load.
One flood.
And again, if you would sign above my name in the lower left there. Do you have a pen? Good.
Should we put a note that says something about the conventional signs later?
We can add that, but I mean, it's a separate sign application.
Yeah.
I can just,
So it shows up.
I just can make a note.
I can remind the SCCU as well.
I see.
I just said that we made a notation that an information sign will be proposed and submitted for approval at a later date when final details are determined. Is that okay? Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
That way we can get written and verbal notice.
Much
Okay, so-
information of the sign, I would suggest something inside the credit union.
Okay.
You know, signs are difficult, but
Yeah.
it's up to you.
Yeah, it's out of my area of expertise.
And to say everything in
Yeah.
5 words.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Sarah.
And good luck with your
Yeah.
project.
Thanks.
And reviewing the minutes for the first meeting for July the 8th. Myself, Eric, Seth.
They look fine.
We were the three here. Any questions, comments, suggestions on that one, or do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor of approval of the July the 8th? That one is approved. And how about July the 22nd? Myself, Seth, Liz, Ben. Any changes or notations on that one? Do I hear a motion to approve the July the 22nd?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor of the July 22nd? And the last one for August the 5th. Steve, Hannah, Ben.
With the 29 College Street on the second page, just says an option would be to add a light at the door. It doesn't actually talk about the project. They're putting in-
Yep, honestly, I didn't even look at these because I wasn't here, so, I will fix.
We gave them an option
Yep.
under the optional to add a, they hadn't proposed, but we gave
Well,
them the option.
The application was for the.
Yeah, there's nothing in here saying what the application was for. No,
Yes.
I see exactly what you're saying. Do you want me to bring it back, or do you want me to just have a brief description in there?
Just,
Just-
their application was for the door
Yep.
and,
Yeah, I looked at what I know what this
Yeah.
application is for, because it's also having to go to DRB today. But I didn't proof these because I wasn't
so
there.
while they ran, we just, if they had any intention of adding lighting for the doorway
Mm-hmm.
in the back corner for the parking lot, we gave them the option. It said to add a light at the
Yep.
door, change the light at the other door, and then they also had an option on the back corner of the building near the parking area to put a motion
Yep,
detector light.
I read the
Okay.
actual form that you filled out, because it could be brass or black. And I
Yes.
have that in there, so because I had to report
Okay.
on it for the DRB staff report. So I know what happened, I just didn't proof the minutes, because
That's okay.
it wasn't part of my routine, because I
That's
wasn't there
okay.
at the meeting.
So with that notation.
I'll fix that. Yep.
Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor? So that one is approved, yes.
With edits.
Any other business or anything anybody has to suggest or offer?
Any updates on what's going on
With,
with hotel?
Oh.
with,
no, I have nothing on that. There's, we're supposed to be getting a decision from the court on all of the various motions for summary judgment and, to get rid of appellants, I think, next month. I think it was supposed to be by the end of this month, but likely it wouldn't come out until at least September, just with the way the court has been a little slow on things. So hopefully by the second meeting of September, we'll know something.
And then what about the building that's going next to Shaw's? Is that happening or not?
I don't think that they're gonna decide on that until they know what's going on with the parking garage.
Okay.
Just because if the parking garage doesn't happen, then they might apply to do something else on that parcel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they don't have to build the building that they got the permit for, if that's what you're talking about.
Well, no, I just thought, I didn't know that they were that interconnected.
They're trying to keep their options open, I think. Is my understanding, so.
And technically, who's doing that? I know that the trust backed out.
Yeah, I don't even know, cause I don't,
Oh, they did?
Last I knew, the trust backed out and it was Ribellini, and I'm not sure who else had some options or are part of that, but I'm not sure who has the rights on the property at this point.
Same design?
I don't know. Last I heard was that, what was it, Mowat Family Trust or whatever it was called had backed out.
so then you know more than I do. I don't, unless it comes down to my office for a zoning permit, or I hear rumors about that, I tend to stay out of that and leave that to Mike Miller, who lets me know if there's something I need to know about.
I don't even know who owns the property now, if they sold out their interest in the property or,
It's too bad, it would've been nice way to come with Montpelier on that.
could have been.
Yeah.
You gotta figure out how to get the trucks behind there first.
Full of options.
Yeah. Apparently what was designed originally is dorky.
The designers, I guess, designed it to be attractive, but not necessarily they might have thought about involving a tractor trailer driver in the design process.
I'm so impressed with those guys that go over to the Shaws that pull in by,
Oh, they swing around
Sarducci's
and
and they back
back
across
it
Main
across.
Street.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Quickly.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
If nobody has anything else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
why not?
Is there a second? All in favor of adjournment, raise your hand. Meeting is adjourned.
Reminder that our first September meeting is on a Tuesday.